Welcome back to Leaders and Legends on WDUR 1490 AM, and you're with your host Steve Rao, and we're here with the Reverend Dumas Harshaw. One thing I want to say, Pastor, is I love your name. And I just want, it's French.
Yes, it is. Yes.
It's French. So that's the other thing I learned about him. But
yes.
There's a famous author, Alexander Dumas, who wrote The Count of Monte Cristo.
Right.
And so you were sort of named.
Yes. My grandfather, who was born in North Carolina in 1888, David Alexander Harshaw, ended up in Illinois where my father was born, but he named his son after Alexander Dumas. He used to read Dumas in French. He knew about 6 languages. He was a clergy person as well.
Wow.
And he was so impressed with Dumas and being a black Frenchman. But he switched the order of the names. And so our first name is Dumas, and then my middle name is Alexander, and then, Harshaw Jr. So I'm a junior, and then my son is the third. So we have the 3 musketeers in a sense in the house. But it, he appreciated what that represented and wanted to carry on that legacy, and that's why the name, even though it's difficult to pronounce, it was when I was growing up, but once I understood what was behind it, I appreciate it.
It's fantastic. I mean, that's wonderful. And so let's talk real quickly about the Triangle MLK weekend. So we have, if you could talk a little bit about the series of events going on this weekend and how people can find out about them and come and get involved. So talk to me a little bit about.
Yes, we begin on Friday morning at 9 a.m. at the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Gardens in Raleigh. And there, clergy persons will be taking us through a process of a wreath-laying ceremony with young people involved as well. And it will kick off the events for the weekend, but also it kicks off on that particular day a time which we are calling for all persons from any faith tradition or anyone to take time to pray, take time to reflect, and take time to meditate on the message, the meaning, the ministry of Dr. King, and the principles that he has left for us to utilize to create a better society. And then on early Monday morning, on the 18th, we will gather in Research Triangle at the Sheraton Imperial Hotel for a free breakfast, a full free breakfast, and the doors open at 6 a.m. And the breakfast, the doors open at 5:45 a.m. The breakfast is served at 6 a.m. And you need to come early because many people come in order to have breakfast, but also get their seating in order. And then following that time, we gather downtown Raleigh, right near the Capitol on Edenton Street. At 11 a.m., there'll be a march from that location to the Duke Building and Center for Performing Arts for an ecumenical service where the All Children's Martin Luther King Choir will be part of that worship experience. And then following that, everything then comes to a close with a annual musical at 5:30 p.m.
Fantastic. And so these events, and I'm going to be involved with the on the 5:30 in the evening at the Duke Energy, Duke Performing Arts Center.
Yes.
It used to be Progress Energy.
Yeah,
It'll be you changed the name. It'll be the dance performances and musical performances, and we will have a Indian performance, and I'll be introducing them and saying a few words. There's a lot of people that attend that event, isn't
Yes,
it?
usually a large crowd, the same crowd that gather for the march, and other people who did not march, they'll come as well.
It's really big.
And gather the music, the beautiful music and worship in a free atmosphere.
And this one group is run by Rinku Das, they live in Morrisville, and she has her own dance academy, but she's actually going to be performing professional choreographed dance to African music, blending the Indian culture.
Beautiful.
So
Excellent.
it'll be very interesting, and she's wonderful.
We look forward to it.
Yeah, so she's working, practicing, and it'll be a great performance. So I'll be there. I want to encourage the community to come. It's at 5:30. If for any of these events, you can go to trianglemlk.com to get all of these events, and we really encourage, bring out the children. We want to really, as Pastor Harshaw said, we want to focus on the youth. We want to educate anyone that it's more than just an "I have a dream" speech. It's a way of living. As brothers and sisters, and we want to have this sense of inclusion. And on Saturday, we've got an event. It's called the Diversity Summit. And Al Cohen and his team have been, and that's going to be in Cary. And we're going to be having some pastors there, and I'm speaking at that, just talking about this whole notion of social justice and equality and inclusion. So,
excellent.
But we really, before I close out the program, the one idea that I have is that I think, we have this interfaith focus at the breakfast, and I'd like to see us maybe at the Gandhi celebration or even at the Indian Independence Day. I'm going to go to the organizers of these organizations and ask, could we have maybe like an interfaith kind of program?
That'd be great.
So,
that'd be marvelous.
Maybe that could be the event you and I have talked about, inviting some of your colleagues, like Reverend Earl C. Johnson, maybe a few others, some from the Jewish faith, some from the Hindu faith, to come and do a like a symposium or panel and talk about this connection between Gandhi and King. And,
that'd be exciting.
So maybe that's something you and I can work on as a next step. And I always close these programs out with some words of wisdom. I think at the end of the day, we want to just really remind all of ourselves that, as I tell my own children, and I said this last year when I spoke, the last year, 2 years has been great. I've been going to superhero movies, Star Wars movies, learning about all these wonderful things. But the greatest superheroes are people like Gandhi and King, Nelson Mandela, who were ordinary individuals who did extraordinary things.
Right.
But what's important to remember is that their freedom marathons, because I love to run, were they were marathons. They weren't sprints.
Yes.
At each mile marker, they experienced humiliation, embarrassment, ridicule, imprisonment. But they never lost sight of their finish line, which was a free India, a free South Africa, a free America where there wasn't segregation.
Yes. And
Dr. King wasn't able to see his own dream come true, but we do have an African-American president today.
Yes.
We have two African-American, I think one on the Supreme Court, but we have African-American judges in North Carolina, leaders. Senator Dan Blue, he was the Speaker of the House. His son is now running for state treasurer. And so we're seeing this progress.
Right, exactly.
But the point I'm trying to make is that we can never lose sight of our finish line. And sometimes it's hard when you're divided and you're fighting and you can't see farther than 2 or 3 weeks till the next news cycle, which is really what it's become. So, but anyway, just remember that theme, and I wanted to leave everyone with that notion. And we want to thank you for coming today.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
And you can follow us at Leaders and Legends and on our Twitter. And also, we're going to send an email out to all of your Triangle MLK Twitter
Very
followers to listen to this show. And we want to thank you so much for being here.
It's been my pleasure.
And on that note, this is Steve Rao signing off. And I want to wish you all a wonderful long weekend. And we will talk to you next week. Thank you very much.